Hello everybody, we are live on Whiskey, Wine and Writing. We're here with the lovely Mia Sheridan. I'm so excited. If you know me at all, you'll know that I'm a bit of a creep and I stalk people like Mia. So I've read all of her books and they're all about her, and I'm really excited to have her here tonight. Joining me is, see Tasha, this is why you should do this stuff.
Oh, this is why I should do this stuff. Hi guys, I am your host Natasha. Like she said, we have the awesome Mia here, who is so amazing and putting up with my shenanigans. As you can tell, I'm a little disheveled tonight, so sorry about that. But Mia, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, tell everybody about yourself and what you write and all that wonderful stuff.
I'm Mia Sheridan, and I write romance novels. And so far, I have written 8 books in what I call the Sign of Love collection. And each book is a standalone with no crossover characters or storylines. But kind of the concept of my collection is that each story is based on one of the, or inspired by one of the signs of the zodiac. So I have done 8 books and done 6 signs because 2 of the books sort of go with another one. And I'm about to release my 8th one on Thursday.
Holy crap. You're like Superwoman. What's going on here?
She actually is. I'm really looking forward to Thursday. What day is it today? I'm on a different day from you. But
Only Tuesday there, right? Is it Tuesday already?
It's Tuesday now, yeah. So I've only got 2 days to wait for Grayson's vow. Yay! I'm very excited. So you can tweet me your questions using the hashtag WWWriting. I got it right. And she's here to answer all your questions, and we have lots of questions to ask as well. So I'm going to get started.
Wait. EL.
Yes. What did I do?
Not all of her books have a topless or shirtless guy on the cover. I'm looking.
Oh, I know.
We were having our critique group on Sunday, and so I don't know if she told you, but she put Archer's voice this month for our book of the month.
Oh.
And we were talking to one of our other critique partners whose sister was there, and she's an avid romance fan. And she was like, "You've got to try Archer's voice." And she was like, "Is there a naked guy on the cover or a shirtless guy?" And we were like, "If EL, suggests it, he generally is shirtless, just so you know." That was the thing. It really was.
My girl. Yeah, all my heroes get shirtless at some point. Archer just happens to be shirtless right on the cover. So.
And he is the sweetest character in the whole wide world ever.
He's got a nice back. I'm looking. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I got distracted. Go ahead.
Okay, let's. I've got to pull up the questions now. You distracted me. Look what you've done.
My bad. Not really. Sorry. Not sorry. Okay.
Okay. I'll just start off with some very generic questions, Mia, if that's all right. I just want to know, because I want to know all about you. Yeah, your address, you can send that to me afterwards. I'll stalk you. When did you first decide you want to be mouth parts? When did
this is a live show, people.
I'm about to do that too, so I'm glad you were first.
I'm always first. When did you decide that you would like to become a writer? That wasn't so hard.
Actually, I never really had any aspirations to be a writer. I never really thought about being a writer. But my writing career kind of started on a little bit of a lot of a sad note. My husband and I lost a baby girl about 3.5 years ago. And I started writing a blog about, the journey that we were on. And people kept saying, who were reading it, it was mostly just for family and friends, and they kept saying, you should write a book, you should write a book. And, I always cry when I read your blog. And I wasn't ready to do that at the time, at least not on that topic. But I thought, I've always read romance books, and I've always loved romance books. And I thought, well, maybe I'll try my hand at that. And so at the time, my husband said, "Listen, if you go write, I will watch the kids." And I think for him at the time, he just wanted to do anything to kind of help me heal. And so I did, go and write, and he watched the kids, and that's kind of how it all started. And it was really good for me at the time because it was sort of a way for me to explore my emotions without, through other characters, which was a safe way for me to do that. So it did start in heartbreak, but I like to think that it's helped me heal, and that maybe through my stories I can help someone else cling to hope in what feels like a completely hopeless situation. Because in the end, like you mentioned earlier, that is kind of the theme of all my stories, that there can be hope even in the bleakest of situations.
Yeah, that was one of my questions for later, actually. Not just the hope, but just that you write so beautifully, and so every time I read a book of yours, it's so poignant. And I just want to, you've just said that you wrote through those characters, and that helped you deal with your emotions at that time of your life. That was one of my questions, but you've answered that. But I just wanted to put out there that your books are so beautiful, and they have got messages of hope hidden behind every single word. And that's what I love about them.
Thank you. And I guess that's probably for me more than anybody. It's kind of that constant reminder that there's always room for hope, even when it seems kind of almost ridiculous to hope, that you still should try to gather your strength and do it anyway. So.
Thank you. And I'll move on. What is your working schedule like when you're writing a book? Because you're a mum to 4 children, that's right, isn't it?
4 children, yes, that cause me shenanigans here on Earth. Yes, I'm a morning writer. I seem to get my energy and my motivation in the morning. So I generally get up and write once the kids are off at school. And if they're not off, I'm lucky that my husband works nights, so he's here during the day to help me with them. So I generally write for a maximum of about 3 hours. My brain is kind of mushy after that. That's pretty much all I can handle. And that's it. My goal is to write 2,000 words a day when I'm on a real writing schedule. And if I keep to that, I can usually get a book done in about 2 months, the writing part of it anyway. So that's always kind of my goal.
Thank you. You're answering my questions as I go.
So
I was going to ask you how long it takes to write a book, but now I know.
She's on par. So in the beginning, though, were you like, when you said that it was what kind of, helped you to kind of overcome some of this grief, so did you find yourself completely immersed at this time? Like, did you have the schedule even then, or did you wind up building it as this became, more of something you knew you were going to continue?
Yeah, no, in the beginning I was just writing, just kind of when I felt like it, or when I was inspired. I didn't have any schedule at all, and it's hard for me to remember exactly how long it took for me to write Leo. I think maybe naturally it did just take me 2 months, because I kind of wrote under that same timeline, even though I wasn't meaning to or planning to. But yeah, it's developed from there. And once I knew I could do that, then making it my goal didn't feel like pressure. It felt like, okay, this is how I work.
I have to do self-imposed deadlines. If I don't, I never get anything done.
Here.
Ever.
I need to do that. I'm such a flake when it comes to writing. Tasha had to shout at me all week so that I had a picture ready for her to critique, because I just couldn't do it. But
that's what critique partners are for. We yell at each other and make sure you're right.
Oh, you're good. Good. Shove that stick up my butt. Mia, do you have any writing quirks? Anything that you do while you're writing?
I guess I've probably said this before somewhere, so it's probably might not be that new or surprising, but for some reason I have to be like showered and dressed and feeling somewhat coiffed and put together before I can write. I don't know if it's like insecurity thing. Like I don't feel as secure if I'm in my PJs and frumped up and whatever. But for some reason, I really like to feel put together for the day before I sit down at the computer. So I don't know. That's just a weirdness of mine.
Not at all. I must admit, I sit there for hours in my pajamas writing.
Most people do. I wish I could. I wish I could sit up in bed, in my PJs and write. I don't know. I just, for some reason,
I can't do it in bed, but I will totally sit even at my desk or, if I'm in the living room on my laptop. I'm like, whatever. I will totally write without pants on today. So pants are restricted, damn it.
We've had Skype meetings where you haven't got pants on.
Okay, that only happened once where I wasn't wearing pants, but I was wearing a robe, so it's okay.
Mia, are any of the characters that you've written, are any of them shaped from people that you've sort of met, either known well or passively throughout your life?
Not really.
Completely fictional?
Not really. No, I generally do not base characters off of people I know. I mean, I suppose there are parts of my husband in all of my heroes, even if that sounds kind of cheesy. But he's what I know of love, and there are parts of him for sure in all my heroes. But I have never written a character that I based completely off of anybody. No.
Okay. Thank you. Out of your published books, do you have a favourite? I don't know which one's my favourite.
I always kind of feel like my favorite one is the one I'm working on at the moment, just because those are the characters that I'm closest to, and those are the characters that I'm spending the most time with. And so it changes. I think that Archer's voice and Archer as a character is probably the one that I feel most protective of, and that was the character that was hardest for me to let go of. But I love them all for different reasons and hate them all for different reasons, I guess.
Yeah, because we don't see the turmoil it takes behind the scenes when you're writing a book. To us, when we get a book, the characters are already very much alive on the page and in our heads.
Right.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't want to behave. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I have one character that Tasha knows that just never behaves and takes over my books and just causes me grief and made me rewrite my last book twice. This is so bad.
Is this Kyle?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. I just want to make sure. I'm like, Kyle. It's got to be Kyle. It's Kyle. I have a friend named Kyle who does that kind of stuff in real life. He just kind of like takes over everything. He's got that personality.
Maybe just change.
No, he's a great guy. He's very vivacious, very out there, outgoing, and all that good stuff. And he's got that personality. And it's like you couldn't make him a character because he would just take over your whole book. That's exactly what would happen.
That is what happened. Yeah, one of the first version I sent you, like, this is all Kyle. There's no Nathaniel in this. Where is he? It's like, oh yeah, that's the main love interest. Oops.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, they definitely come to you in different ways. Some are real talkative and let you know immediately who they are, and other ones, or don't talk for a long time, which was definitely Archer. There's someone else.
Well, I guess that must have been really, really difficult. Because the first chapter of Archer's voice is Archer, age 7. It's age 7. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a frustrating character to me actually, because I came up with the story and I came up with him, and he was sort of vague in my mind, and I kept waiting for him to talk to me, and he just wouldn't for a long time, and I kind of was what I called writing blind. I was just kind of writing him, and I didn't know who he was. I couldn't get a good handle on him. And then finally, about 3/4 of the way through the book, he became clear to me, and he started speaking, and then I had to go back and kind of, fix the parts that weren't right, that I had just, laid down on the page. So, I don't know, it sounds like I have character, or I have voices in my head whenever I talk like that. I feel like I'm crazy. Kind of.
We all talk like that. I think we all feel like that. Some characters shout, some are quiet, but they're all there, milling about. Have you got any advice to anyone that's happened to I had a problem with Nathaniel in my first book. Like he wouldn't talk to me either, and I still don't really know how I managed to get him to do it in the end. But do you have any advice for the people out there that may have that same problem?
I guess I would say it worked for me just to, write it and get the story out there, and the more I wrote him, the more I began to understand him and get in his head. And then, like I said, I was able to, once he became really clear to me, I was able to go back and say, okay, they have this conversation, but this is not what he would have said. But at least all those parts were already down and the story was laid out. I just needed to kind of modify some of his conversation or some of his movements or whatever. So I guess that worked for me, and that's my best advice with those type of stubborn characters.
Thank you. Do you get many messages from people that have read your books?
I do, yes. I get lots of messages on my Facebook account and on my website, and it's amazing just, talking to people, in the Philippines and Brazil and all these places every day. It's just kind of surreal. But yes, I do. I talk to people all over the world every day.
Because you've done really well, but I want to go right back to Leo, and the moment when you found out that Leo have made the USA Today bestsellers list. Can you? Because I think it's a really lovely story, and our viewers would like to know it. Can you tell us a bit about that, please?
Yeah, well, when I published Leo, I mean, like I said, it kind of was just a project that I did for me, but once I was done with it, and I did have a couple friends read it, and they told me they liked it, and so I thought, well, I want to do something with it, and I had read a couple self-published books and was really a fan of several self-published authors, and so I thought, well, I'll figure out how to do this, and so I put it up on Amazon and kind of just went about my business. I thought, it's out there somewhere in cyberspace. I didn't think anybody would ever see it or download it. I thought maybe I'd tell a couple neighbors about it and maybe they'd read it. And that was it. So I went about my business, and like a week later, I think I sent it to several blogs, and then I just went on with life, and I was outside like a week later pulling weeds, and my husband came to the back door and he asked about it, and I said, oh yeah, I put it up on Amazon, and he said, so like if I go and look on Amazon and do a search, it'll be there? And I said, yeah. So he looked it up, and he came back to the door and he said, honey, you have like 200 reviews, and one of them says that you made USA Today. And I had no idea at all.
That's awesome.
Well, but it was also horrifying for me at the time because it was so unexpected that all these people had been reading my book and I had no idea. And it was a strange moment.
I bet it was also amazing though. But so in regards to reviews, at that point you said you had like over 200. So I mean, there had to be like one or two that probably weren't very favorable, because that generally happens to everybody.
That was the one that he had read. It was a 1-star review that just was like scathing, and the reason that she had even mentioned that I made USA Today was because she said, I can't believe this terrible, horrific book sold enough copies to make USA Today.
So what advice would you give somebody who reads their first negative review? Because everybody gets negative reviews, and I don't think that a lot of authors realize that. Some, like you've seen the self-published authors who kind of like just freak out and go after the people who are leaving bad reviews. So yeah, don't do that. Like, don't do that. And I just think some people don't realize that everybody gets bad reviews. You could be Stephen King and get bad reviews. It happens. But as somebody who saw that negative review for the first time, what advice would you give to an author who's going to be going through that same thing in the future when they see their first bad review? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, see, I'm the worst person to give advice on that because it still affects me kind of in that way, even though I don't have a thick skin at all. And I could read 50 good reviews and 1 bad review, and the one that I will dwell on is the bad review. And so I work on that. And I think that for me, in the beginning, I did read every review, and I think even a lot of the bad ones were helpful to me and taught me a lot, and so I'm grateful that I did read them. But at this point, I don't really read reviews unless people send them to me, just because I get the gist of what people love about my writing and what people hate about my writing. I know at this point, and so kind of reading that over and over every day, it doesn't really serve a purpose for me other than to, go on a emotional roller coaster. But my husband reads reviews sometimes, and sometimes he'll bring one to me that's really great or that says something special or whatever. And so for me, kind of just staying away from that at this point is the best thing that I can do. But I mean, you're right. Everything that you said is totally true. Everybody gets bad reviews, and if you really want to feel better, go to a book that you love, like that you think is the best book of all time, and read some of those one-star reviews, and you'll feel better immediately about your own one-star reviews, because sometimes people are just kind of crazy, and and sometimes they just don't like your book, and that you kind of just have to be okay with that and expect that it's going to happen to you no matter who you are.
Thank you. How do your friends and family feel about your success? Do they say anything to you? Does it feel kind of strange, or is it all kind of normal?
Yeah, well, they're definitely very proud of me, and I didn't want to tell my mother-in-law for a long time because I felt like, she's I didn't know how she was going to feel about me writing sexy romance books, and but
it's like finding out your grandmother, who's like in her 80s, is reading your sex scenes or something. I imagine it's awkward. I could see that being awkward. Yeah.
It's so awkward. Yeah, it's somewhat horrifying. But my husband, who's very proud, told his parents almost immediately. And what's funny now is she's like, I always call her my number 2 fan because she's just so sweet. She recommends my books to all her golf ladies, and so everybody's really supportive of my writing, and I'm lucky to have a really great support group around me.
Do you feel like you've learned anything about yourself through your writing?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely learned that and I don't even know if this is a bad thing, but I care a lot about what people think of me, and I work on that a little bit because it can be a negative thing, but I think I've kind of always been like that, and so that's why criticism is hard for me to take, because I kind of want everybody to like me all the time. And that's obviously not going to happen, especially as an author. And so I work on that within myself, but this whole experience has definitely brought that part of me to the forefront and forced me to kind of be okay if not everybody in the world likes me.
You're so honest. That's lovely. Yeah, not everybody can, unfortunately. And books are so subjective. Like, I could read one and say, oh, it's amazing, then I could give it to somebody else and they'd be like, why did you like this? But
yeah,
everyone's opinion is so different.
Yes. Yeah.
Most subjective industry on the planet, except for maybe the only other majorly subjective career path I could think of is like if you're a screenwriter for movies and TV. I imagine that's just as subjective as the novel literary world. I can't imagine, I think those are like the 2 most subjective things on the planet.
Yeah, I think art in general, I think any type of art, one person is going to love it and think it's genius, and another person is going to think it's trash. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about art too, is that it speaks to personal parts of each of us. And so it's a good thing that that's the case, but again, like I said, it's difficult when you're facing both types of reviews, and you have to realize that both are kind of important. Actually, they tell the people who won't like your book to stay away from your book. So one bad review could warn off a whole slew of people who would have given you a bad review too. So I'll look at it like that sometimes.
Yeah, well, people know what they like and they know what they don't like. So sometimes, like, I'll look at a bad review and they're like, "Oh, I don't like X, Y, and Z," and I'm like, "Okay, well, that's fine because I like X, Y, and Z. You know, I'd rather not have a book that has A, B, and C." So it just varies, and that's why I think bad reviews aren't necessarily bad for the author because, like you said, it's going to deter a bunch of people who would read it, hate it, and then give more bad reviews.
Right.
So
Yes.
definitely.
Also, someone said, I hear this all the time on one of the writing groups, that when you come across a book that's just got like loads of 5 stars and no 4, 3, 2, or 1, you get a bit suspicious as to why it's only
That's me.
5
I've
stars.
said that. I get a little wary when it's literally all good reviews. I'm like,
Yeah.
something's wrong here. Something's wrong here. I don't know what, but something's wrong here. That's me.
Yeah.
Mia, when you're writing, what is it that you look for? What do you think makes a good story? What are the things that you want to make sure that you always include?
Well, I think first and foremost, an interesting plot is and something that maybe is a little bit different. I always try to do something that is slightly different than what's out there, which is very hard because kind of everything is out there at this point, or something that I love that, you know, putting a different spin on it or something. So when I come up with the original idea, that's kind of my criteria, something that is interesting to me, but slightly different, maybe I feel like is lacking at the moment in the market or in the genre. And then characters that are very relatable. You know, I want even if all my characters are different in whatever ways they're different, I want them to be relatable. I want you to say, you know, this person is really different than me, but I can relate to them. I can relate to their choices, even if their choices are not good ones or whatever. That you have an understanding of who they are. So that's kind of those are the basics anyway of what I start with.
You've written 8 books so far. Have you written any others that you have hidden away that you don't want to publish?
No.
No. No, that was so easy. No.
No, it takes so. I mean, I have so much like, I guess, envy for these authors who say that they have, you know, 25 stories going on in their head at any one time, because it's so difficult for me just to come up with one story. And I wish I had so many stories floating around in my head that I could just be writing secret side projects and stuff, but sadly, no.
I don't know, if you've only got one story floating around your head and every time they're as good as the 7, I've read 7 so far because Grayson's Voice is out Thursday, then I'm pretty glad that you only have 1 and they're the ones that you put out because they're all amazing.
Well, thank you.
See, I am the one with 20 million different ideas bouncing around in my head, but I can only write one at a time.
Yeah.
Because, she knows because I'll sit there and I'll post in our Facebook group. I'm like, okay, here's my new ideas, and where are we going with this, and what am I doing? Oh my God, what's happening? I don't understand. And so, you know, EL and the other 2 are always like talking down, like, calm down, it's okay. Right.
Do you bounce between them, like if you can, or you said you only write one at a time?
I only write one at a time. I used to do that in the beginning. I would try to write like multiple books. Nothing ever got finished. And it's the same thing. I can't edit and write at the same time. I have to do one or the other. I can't do them simultaneously. Nothing gets done, and never does. So.
Yeah, I know some authors who not only have multiple ideas, but write them all at the same time, and I can barely keep one straight at a time. So I don't know. My brain power must not be quite as good, but that's amazing to me that anyone can do that. So
sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I can't write multiple books at one time. I've tried. I failed terribly. So.
I had a flip out. Was it last week or a few days ago? I had a flip out on our Facebook critique group because I'm writing a book 3 in a series, and I'm also writing a standalone that will link into people, but it's a standalone. And then this story started banging at my head, and I wrote it in the Facebook group. I was like, what do I do? I've got this, and I want to develop this, and I've got this, and then I can't write anything. That's what I ended up with. I couldn't write anything. That's what happened.
It's insane, just, what we do.
Yeah.
Once I settle on an idea, I'm good. It's getting to that one idea. It's siphoning through all the ideas that I have to find that one that I really want to write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can be the hardest part, I think. Just coming up with that original idea.
That's what I was going to ask you, because like all of your books are romance. So when you're coming up with ideas, is it always a romance that you come up with, or that you think that just when you start to plan a book, is it yes, it's definitely going to be a romance. This is what I want.
Yeah, and especially for now, just because that's my my series, and but even once I finish all the rest of the signs, I think I'll probably still write romance. It's my first love, and I think that brings me the most happiness and satisfaction to write it. So I don't see myself switching genres at any point, but never say never, I guess.
That phrase has been coming up so much. I swear to God, we actually had that. We were bouncing it back and forth on Facebook the other day because somebody was like, never to me, and I don't remember why, but I was like, never say never, and then I took the image from Fievel Goes West where he's dancing with the bird, and it's like, never say never. So, and then all of a sudden I wanted to go see, An American Tail, Fievel Goes West. I still want to watch it because nostalgia. I'm weird like that. It's okay.
Oh, that's the motto of September, maybe, or something.
Yes.
It could be. It could very well be. So.
Your success that you've had has been pretty amazing. When you wake up in the morning, do you still have to pinch yourself, or is it just part of your everyday life now? Because you've done incredibly well for someone that just sat down one day on the shoulders of grief and wrote Leo to what you are now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still surreal that anybody other than my husband and a couple friends read my books at all. And so even though in some sense I've gotten used to it, it's still, it'll hit me sometimes like, whoa, like if somebody will send me a message from India or something, it just, I have to take a minute to think, someone in India is reading my book. Like, how crazy is that? And I don't ever want to stop feeling that way, because I feel like it makes me stop and appreciate how far I've come to and just how lucky I've been in this business. So, I try to stop and feel like it's surreal and like I'm grateful as often as possible.
Yeah, I imagine that's like a crazy feeling. Are you full-time writing now, or are you still like, do you have like a day job, I guess, and then you write as well?
No, I actually, before I started writing, I was doing graphic design from home. And so I basically still have the same schedule I did then. I just write now instead of design brochures.
Okay, so you are writing full-time.
Yes.
Awesome. That's a dream right there for, all of us is like, yes, let's go full-time writing. No day job, just writing. So that would be absolutely amazing and just an awesome opportunity, I imagine. And you're doing what you love. And, it started, like EL said, on the wings of grief, and, but you've made it this really, profound thing where you have hundreds of thousands of people reading these books and finding inspiration in them. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
So definitely a good thing.
What's been the best part of this whole whirlwind of success so far?
I guess for me, the very best part is when I get messages. For instance, a woman wrote to me after and this is probably going to make me cry because every time I have talked about it, it makes me tear up, but a woman wrote to me after I published Archer's Voice and told me that she has a little boy who was born without the ability to speak. And she said that, over the years, she's been so depressed about it and just very, concerned, and that she read my book and it just completely changed her perspective of what his life can bring to him, and it made her feel hopeful that he was going to find love and happiness, and that it lifted her above the situation and allowed her to see it from a completely different standpoint. And to me, I thought, if I never get another message, if I never get another good review again, that will have made this whole journey worthwhile. That somehow I changed somebody's life, even if in a small way.
That's amazing. While we're on the subject of Archer's voice, it was such an original and beautiful story, and I'd never read anything like it before. And it's had some major interests from some major people, hasn't it? Would you like to tell us more about that? Tell me more.
Well, I did sell the film option for Archer's Voice, and so that is in the works right now. It's kind of a little bit of a slower process, and I don't have any big news about it right now, but hopefully soon.
But still, freaking congrats!
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, it's very exciting, and I try not to get overly excited about it until things really start happening. But yeah, just the fact that it was recognized for something like that, for a project like that, is incredible to me, and so exciting. So we shall keep our fingers crossed and hope that everything goes off without a hitch.
Yes, I want it, and I will watch it over and over and over and over and over and over again.
All the awesome vibes your way. Just that's awesome. It's amazing. So, we have not done the What's Up With You segment.
Do it.
With that. Okay, so the What's Up With You segment is just a segment where we sit there and we stop and we just talk about something good going on in our lives. It doesn't have to be writing related. It could be absolutely anything you want to talk about. So, Mia, what's up with you?
Kids are back in school.
There you go. That's it. She's like, kids are back in school. That's it.
I love those little hooligans, but a couple hours of quiet during the day is good for all of us, I think. So that is, and this is actually the very first time that all of my children have been in school at the same time every day of the week. So my husband and I have been planning little outings together, just walking around Lowe's or whatever. We try to do one errand every day after our youngest gets on the school bus. So we've been having fun. It's like, kind of how we were before we had kids, when we got to just be together, and even though it's for a short time during the day, and it's been really fun.
That is awesome. EL, what's up with you?
Don't ask me. Nothing. I have nothing.
Nothing. There's something. Didn't you say something was coming out Thursday? That's a thing.
Mia's book.
Oh yeah, Mia's book. So
Back to
okay, look, I'm tired. Anyways, there's something going on with you. There's something good. There's always something good.
I wrote again. That's good.
Yay, that is good.
I didn't
know you
write
we got the first chapter.
Yeah.
So that was our CP group on Sunday. We got to edit her new chapter.
The first chapter is the hardest, though, right? Like, that's the hardest one. So that's a big feat if you felt uninspired.
And I have this habit of going back and trying to perfect it, and I really shouldn't do that. I should move on, because when I've written my book, from the second book on, the first draft was generally, other than some layering and some editing and some switching things around, that was usually what it was, because I go back and I spend a week on a chapter organising it and sorting it out, and it's just ridiculous. So writing the first chapter is a real pain in the butt.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that.
Putting it nicely.
I'm sure you've heard that, expression or whatever about shoveling sand in the sandbox. Have you heard that?
No.
No.
And I don't know where I read this, so I'm not sure who I'm quoting, but I've read that the first draft is just like shoveling sand in the sandbox, and then you can go back and build castles later. But the first draft is just kind of like, get it out there, shovel sand in. And so some days when I'm like, I don't want to write, I don't feel like writing, this is all crap that I'm writing, I remind myself of that. I say, I'm moving it forward, I'm shoveling sand in the sandbox, I can go back later and, you know, make it something somebody actually wants to read. But I always
said the first draft of anything is shit, so, you know,
exactly.
I like Hemingway quotes. I have the right drunk and it's over. I know it's upside down, but I can't really twist myself that way.
Put your hands down and put the computer on the floor. Go on, you can do it.
No, I'm not going through all that. No. It's okay.
I've written that down about shovel sand and build sandcastles later because I think I'm going to need to use that because it makes perfect sense. Now that's what Kathy always says, isn't it, Natasha? Just vomit on the page, get it all down, and come back and sort it out later.
Like the smartest walrus ever. So.
Yeah, she is. She's.
Oh yeah, sorry, Mia. We call ourselves the Walrus Writers. Long story that we're probably never going to tell anybody about, but yeah. We're
now I want to know. You're
so,
I should tell. I'll tell.
Make a whole blog post about it. Be my guest.
Come on.
That was quite a day. We had like the craziest conversation that day, and it turned into walruses. And it was weird. I don't know.
It was all based on a film about a man that gets turned into a walrus.
It's a B-rated horror flick that my husband watched called Tusk, and it starred Justin Long, and the guy takes him and he kidnaps him and he modifies him into a walrus.
Sounds like a B-movie.
Yeah. No, and I guess the ending is that they can't change him back, so she leaves him in a zoo. Like his girl leaves him in a zoo or something. And like there's a tear rolling down his cheek. I don't know. It is the weirdest thing ever. That's all I know. And that turned into a conversation in probably about 40 minutes of our hour critique group of just laughing. So.
And it bonded you. That's why it's your name. That's perfect.
So yeah, it was pretty funny.
I love it.
Yes.
Natasha, what's up with you?
Oh God, I don't know. What is up with me? Storm gets her stitches out Wednesday, so that's a good thing. My dog had to have impromptu surgery, you know, and then $650 later, she's got a bunch of stitches in the back of her neck. But she's doing good. She's running around, doing her wonderful, wonderful things, and she gets the stitches out Wednesday, and we're going to find out because we had them biopsy it because they thought it might be cancerous because it was a growth thing. So we'll find out Wednesday if it was cancerous. Hopefully not, but you know we won't know until we know. So that's what's up with me. So yay.
To your furry baby.
Yeah, she's actually she's not in here right now for once. Normally half the time you can ask anybody. She's up here in my arms because she gets all mad that I'm on the show and she's not. So back to the writing. Do you notice that besides your schedule, did you like pants it to begin and now you plot, or are you somewhere in between? What is the evolution of your writing besides getting a schedule then like?
I actually live with the story in my head for long enough that I kind of have the whole outline of it, of the story, and I do write out a very, very short, to the point outline where it's like literally bullet points, just so that I know what I'm moving toward. But from there, I really I'm not sure exactly what's going to move me from one bullet point to the next, and so pants that part of it. But I always know where I'm going to end up. I'm just not always exactly sure how the characters are going to get me there.
Get there. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I do. So I'm like, I told my pitch Wednesday, I was like, I need a bullet point of where you want this to go. And she's like, I don't outline. I'm not asking you to outline. I just need plot points of what you want to happen. We'll figure out how to get there. I just want to know your plot points. Yeah. So that's exactly what I do. I do the same thing, because if I don't, then I wind up, I mean, even when I do that, sometimes I wind up in opposite directions, like some of the plot points will get twisted around, or maybe one disappears. But I always know what the end goal is if I do that.
Right, and then do you feel like every bullet point is like a goal you've met, you know, when you make it to those bullet points? Because those are kind of big moments that steer your story. And so every time I make it to a bullet point and can cross it off the list, I kind of feel like, yes, you know.
Yes, and that is a good feeling. And then sometimes, though, like I said, sometimes, though, some of them disappear because by the time you get to the bullet point before it, something has changed in how they got there, which will make a separate bullet point moot. Like, it's just not there anymore. But it's better to have too many than not enough. So, and you're always tweaking when you're writing. It is what it is. So, but yeah, I'm the same way, definitely. What about you, Em?
What? Do I plot or pants? Sorry. I pants all the way through from start to finish. I may bounce ideas around off people, but yeah, I generally, or I might write down as something that's popped into my head, or maybe somewhere I want the story to go, but generally I just write.
Well, that's because you're amazing, so.
Yeah, you are amazing. That's amazing.
I tried the pantsing thing, and, well, I guess Redemption was pantsed most of it, and then, you know, I kind of sat down about halfway through it, and I said, okay, I need to figure out where this is going the rest of the way, and that's kind of when that started, when I started bullet pointing. So I was like, okay, I want this, this, and this to happen. So that's what I know, and now let me figure out how to get there. So it works. And again, that's why Scrivener's great, because you have their little note cards that you can just put like a line so you know what you want to happen, and then put scenes in between them, and I can always see where I'm going and where I'm at on my project.
I haven't gone to Scrivener yet. I hear so many amazing things about it, and I keep meaning to change, and then I just get stuck in my word pattern. So I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to.
I've tried both, but I prefer Microsoft Word.
All the writing and my first round of edits, and then once I export it to Word and I send it like to EL, like she has Renegade right now, so she's doing the edits on that. So when I get that back from her, I'm not going to put it back in Scrivener. From the point that I start my edits and I finish my first round of self-edits and I export it, it's Word from there on out.
Okay.
I use Word all the way through. I downloaded the trial of Scrivener, and I had money to get, I think, to get it for like a really low price after NaNoWriMo, but I just can't get to grips.
If you're a winner of NaNoWriMo, I think it's like half off, and it's only a $40 program, so it's $20 at that point.
Yeah, and so for me, it's even less, because once you convert it, it's like next to no money, but I just couldn't get to grips with it, and Microsoft Word, being able to have that column on the right hand side, that's where I'll write my notes, or I'll comment on something, or I'll highlight something, and then that's just the way I do it. I need it all there, right there.
Yeah, it's really great. It works out fantastic. Oh, we have a question.
It's from Rebecca.
Go for it.
Rebecca Carpenter. Hello, Rebecca. I love Rebecca. She's another one of my CPs. She would like to know, Mia, do you use the romance formula for books? And if so, do you find it hurtful or helpful to your writing?
What's the romance formula?
I don't know.
I'm so ashamed to say that I don't even know what the romance formula is.
I don't either, and I write romance. So, I mean, granted, I write romantic suspense, but still, what is... Rebecca, you must tell us.
Yes.
I know, please, Rebecca. Oh, go.
Don't leave. Like, you have 3 romance writers on here who are like...
Wow.
Of course I do.
What is this formula you speak of? Like, are we doing this the uber hard way because there's a formula out there we didn't know about?
Yeah. Well, no. Hopefully our life is about to get a whole lot easier, because I have no idea what that is. Please, Rebecca, email me and tell me. I need to know.
Yeah, no, Rebecca, I want to know now too. So we'll keep an eye out on the tweet for that. I actually I just got, because Brenda Drake has always suggested it, the Plot Whisperer. So I actually finally ordered it, so it should be here tomorrow, because I like to learn new tips and tricks for writing if it's going to make it easier for me. So I got that to, you know, whenever I have spare time again, to try and read that.
I have that, and I did open it, but when you're sort of like, I was halfway through Finding, I think, and when you're sort of in that pit and you're looking for anything desperate to move past the writer's block that you've hit, and when I opened it, it was like there's so much information, I just sort of backed away again.
She got intimidated.
I got intimidated because it's, but I'm definitely going to use it for my next series, but I'm going to start using it before I start writing the next series, rather than halfway through.
So, Mia, that brings me to my next question. Are there any writing books that you had used to help you improve your technique, or any you would, you know, tell people, oh my God, you should totally read this because it's awesome and it's going to help you out? Anything along those lines?
No, and I'm ashamed to say no because I'm sure I could use many of them. But I tend to think like I have read articles or whatever that will come across Facebook about, the 20 worst mistakes in fiction or whatever, and I'll read them. And sometimes when I go to write and I have all these rules in my head, it tends to just stop me up. And so I'm sure I break many of them all the time, and my editor does keep me in line and say, when my characters are smiling all the dang time and sighing every other paragraph or line or whatever, she keeps me in line with things that I tend to repeat over and over again. So I get a lot of help not falling into my bad habits. But no, I haven't really found a book that I rely on a lot while I'm writing.
Okay. I just, I don't necessarily let my head get muddled up with all the rules. I read through it and I take what's going to help and apply for me. And, I don't necessarily take every aspect of every book, that's for sure. Else I'd be writing 20 different ways with no know-how. Because, again, even the writing books are subjective on how you should do it and what you should be doing and, all that stuff. So I think it's kind of like, just writing when you get critiques, you take what works for you and you toss the rest.
Well, I think too, sometimes you have to take more into consideration what you like, because I've read before that there's no need to describe, and I did get criticized for this a lot in my first book, not a lot, but several times that I saw at least, for describing every outfit that my character was wearing and what kind of makeup she put on or whatever. And so I tend not to do that now, and I guess, you don't necessarily need to unless it's an important reason for the reader to know, but I kind of like to know what characters are wearing. Like, I like when I read a romance book and then it tells me what the girl is wearing to go, on a date with this guy. I like to know, and so I do try to remember what I like to read too and take that into consideration as I write. And not listen to all the rules and what I should be doing, because lots of times they're contradictory. So, and I like adverbs too.
Me too.
She's been out there. I like adverbs. They're my friends.
Me too. I like both of those things. Like if going out on the date, like this is terrible that I know these things. That's a good thing. So in Archer's Voice, where Bree goes out with her friends that she meets for the first time, I think Melanie and Liza, she describes what she's wearing because she's like a bit worried. She's new to the town, so she goes for casual, smart, and the little black dress, I think. And I kind of like to know that because it's a realistic worry that someone would have in their head. What are they going to wear for the first time that they're going out?
I don't mind knowing what somebody's wearing, like if it's jeans and a red shirt, but I don't want 3 paragraphs of them getting dressed.
No.
I don't. And I have seen that before, where it's 3 paragraphs of them putting on jeans and a shirt and their boots and this, that, and I'm like, okay, just tell me what they're wearing, so I can get the visual, and let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't need 3 paragraphs of it. So.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
So it's all good. I mean, it's a learning experience. I make my CP group laugh because I sat there and when I first used to start writing, as soon as I would go to bed, I would put my characters to bed. So, like, I would always have them go to bed. And it was like I would start to realize my characters are sleeping a whole lot. What's going on here? So
I have narcolepsy.
Yeah, seriously. So, you kind of live, you learn, you realize the quirks you're doing, and you improve upon them. Like, my characters don't go to sleep just because I do now. I will leave it in the middle of a scene and come back to it tomorrow. They don't have to go to bed because I do. So.
Yeah, and I did a lot more of that in my first books. I think I've cut back on that a little bit at least, but I had my editor go back and edit my first books because I hadn't had that done at the time, and she actually said something that I thought was really sweet. She said, I might take out a little more of this, which was me describing outfits and whatever. She said, but I think that this was something that was charming about the way that you wrote your first book. And she said, if it was your current book, I would tell you to take this out, but that was kind of part of your initial charm. And I thought, well, that was sweet because I kind of know a few things better now than I did then, but that was me then, and I don't necessarily want to change who I was then. I can improve upon it now. So anyway, I liked the way that she kind of put that, and that's kind of true of all of us, I think.
I agree. My first book, I could pull it back and maybe look at it again, but I'm not going to because that's where I was at that time.
Wow, it's 8:55 already. We're at the end of the hour. Mia, is there anything that we didn't get to touch base on? Something you wanted to say that maybe we didn't bring up? Just, anything you wanted to say before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I think we touched on most everything. I'm excited that Grayson's Vow is coming out Thursday, and I will be on my couch drinking wine from that point forward. So,
there you go. That's the way to celebrate. It's your book birthday. You can do that. So
I'm so excited.
She put the cake up there too.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, because I'm so excited for Grayson's Vow. Like when Kylan came out, I was just like every day I was like, I need to read this book. And I was like, bye.
Oh, she's so excited. I love it.
I got in trouble for buying Kylan because I was just like, bye.
So, well, happy early book birthday. It's going to be phenomenal. So make sure you guys check out Mia's website, which is, I'll let you say it.
MiaSheridan.com.
There you go, MiaSheridan.com, because we're just going to say I forgot, and that's terrible, I know, but, it's been a long day. Okay, but, so thank you so much for being with us, Mia. Next week we have the most awesome Shiloh Walker on. She is the author of the FBI Psychic series, the Secret and Shadow series. Oh my gosh, so many series she has. She is just a phenomenal author. We'll be talking to her and her writing process and all that wonderful stuff. So you guys have a wonderful night. Write creatively, drink responsibly, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.